And you folks at home thought that the Ralph Northam saga was over? You thought that the book was closed?
Surprise, surprise, surprise!
Oh yeah, it ain't over, motherfuckers.
The motherfucking saga continues.
So, give 96 hours after the initial event. We are looking at Tuesday afternoon now. We're going into Tuesday night. We still do not have a Ralph Northam resignation. We still do not have a handing over of the reins to a new Virginia governor. And also, one of the most despicable, one of the most embarrassing press conferences probably in recent history. You gotta really give it to Northam for his theatrics and his really piss poor job and his antics. This is really quite ugly. But have a look.
Point. The people that do that kind of research, perhaps they should have looked at that.
And you said that the competition in San Antonio was a dance competition?
Yes,
And it was that you danced the moonwalk?
that's right.
Are you still able to moonwalk?
Inappropriate circumstance.
My wife says inappropriate circumstances.
Why do you feel like this is the best?
And a 180 turn as well. We have Northam coming out saying, this might actually not be me. And then on second thought, this actually wasn't me. It was maybe a colleague, a classmate, someone else. It's on my personal personal yearbook page, but it's not actually me. I wasn't the racist either in the Klan hood or in blackface. Big Banks, what's going on here?
I don't know. He's hilarious. Jesus. It's hard to find words for the
A total mismanagement, a total mishandling of the whole. It's beyond fiasco at this point.
I'm not going to say mismanagement. This is what he wanted to do. These are the words that he wanted to speak during his press conference. And he felt like he was doing a great job until his wife stepped in. When somebody asked him,
Could you show us your moonwalk? Let's go ahead and see your moves, Mr. Governor.
And he was looking for space to actually do the moonwalk until his wife said, "This is inappropriate."
Thank you, Mrs. Northam, for being there on stage to inhibit your husband from making an even further fool of himself.
I think right now, I don't want him to resign. I need him there. I need him.
We need comic relief.
That too as well, but I need to show a clear contrast between the Republicans and the Democrats in the mere fact that this is what you get. It's proof positive now that I'm not saying he's a racist, but he did racist type things.
Correct.
And
you could argue a different era.
Yeah.
You could argue youthful indiscretions. You could argue any number of these things, but you can also hold the fact that it's the 1980s, the mid 80s.
Exactly.
I think this is well beyond Jim Crow. This is well beyond an era where that might have been considered kind of the the attitude of the time.
Voting rights,
right.
Housing Act, any bill that was placed to help minorities move forward in life, he was well past it by that point. So I'm not saying he should have known better, but it was common practice for things like this to happen. I mean, let's think about it. I'm not holding it against him. I mean, I think the thing that really hurts me the most is that they're using this as a blanket to cover the real issue, the infanticide. Who cares about blackface? I care about killing babies.
This is an issue in the here and now. This is not a dug up issue of. Granted, the Republicans are going to come out strong and use this as ammo, and they have a lot of ammo.
Exactly.
We now know, or we found out in the last 24 hours, that this actually probably someone associated with him during his college days who does not like
does not care for him at all,
based on his abortion take and based on his kind of willingness to take the far left position on the state's recent move towards liberalizing and really radicalizing kind of the abortion issue from the left hand.
And I have no problem with that. I mean, I think the main thing is that if whoever released this photo was doing it for the right reasons, to remove this governor because he believed his positions when it comes to abortion rights, and the health of the mother and the child is far too to the left or to the right, I think they did it for the good reason. Because you don't want nobody who's swore to be a doctor to do harm.
Correct.
And he swore to do no harm.
It's right. Different motives, perverse motives,
yeah.
But it's funny that our focus and our outrage and our strongest vehement opposition to Northam as an individual stems from an old yearbook photo when he was in med school. So interesting enough. now his would-be replacement, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. Do you think he's getting off okay? You think he's sort of unscathed in this whole thing? Apparently, in his 2017 run, spoke a little earlier on part one. Northam came into office in early 2017, but some allegations of sexual misconduct.
The allegation is completely false, as was indicated in our statement, and if you read through the story, you'll see it's completely uncorroborated. And the fact that they would run a story on an uncorroborated allegation from now 15 years ago tells you exactly what the smear is all about. There's a possibility that I might be elevated to the governorship. It's at that point that they come out with the attacks and the smears. It is unfortunate, it really is, but it's sadly a part of our politics now. So I met her at the convention. We met and talked, and I did not know her prior to. I was 25 years old, unmarried, a campaign staffer at the time, and we hit it off. She was very interested in me, and so eventually at one point we ended up going to my hotel room. This is in 2004. She was, very much into consensual encounter, but everything was 100% consensual. And not only that, the same person called me sometime later and wanted to meet with me, wanted to come visit me. I was still in law school, at Columbia Law School, wanted to come to New York City to meet with me, wanted me to meet her mother, and said that months later in this case, and years later now. We have a totally fabricated story out of the blue that's meant to attack me because of where I am in politics.
Alleged accuser went to the Washington Post at the time, and the WAPO, as they normally like to do, as the Washington Compost is notorious for, buried the story, hid the story, moved on to...
Now, why would they do that? Looking at Kavanaugh, Trump, stories like that actually helps them, but yet since somebody has a D behind their name, you just want to just say we give no
credence to these allegations. These allegations are going to be swept under the rug. They're not going to see the light of day. So Fairfax probably dodged a bullet.
Oh no, not yet.
In his candidacy, when he actually rose up to the or earned the position at the time of lieutenant governor. But maybe he got a free pass, of course, from left-leaning media outlets.
I think it's kind of funny. Like I was listening to all the pundits. How did they miss these things?
Correct. That's another question that must be raised. The opposition research that was not done on the part of the state Republican Party. That needs to be a simple search over an individual's past records. This is big time politics.
Exactly.
This is the highest position in the state of Virginia. So how that was missed raises a lot of other questions. That was poor oppo research on the part of the state Republicans or even any other Republicans outside of Virginia.
I'm glad it's out right now so we can actually talk about the issue and move forward.
Move forward? Well, we don't want to move forward just yet. You thought it couldn't get better. The alleged victim of Fairfax is strong-armed, kind of his sexual assault or his sexual misdeeds. She went and hired part of the legal team associated with Blasey Ford. So imagine that. You thought this story could not gain any more, couldn't be any more thrilling and couldn't keep you on the edge of your seat anymore, but you'd be mistaken there.
Keep your popcorn ready, people.
Get your popcorn ready, keep it in the hand. Funny how the pro-resignation and the anti-resignation people have sort of started to kind of feel their way through this entire thing. 2020 contenders almost universally
everybody
resign. It's time for Northam to go. This is beyond the pale, and he must go. Those not running for the Democratic nod in 2020, namely Howard Dean and former Democratic Party Chairman Terry McAuliffe. Here's what they had to say about whether Northam should resign. So imagine that, two old white guys, part of the old guard Democrats, right? Dean's not so moderate. No. McAuliffe was a moderate, I guess, more or less. But imagine that they don't have a dog in the fight for 2020 yet, or they haven't let their own aspirations for the presidency be known. But
I don't hold nothing against Mr. Northam. I mean,
1984. It was
a long time ago. I mean, and then on top of that, I mean, who cares? It's not about what you do; it's the policies that you put forward. And somebody in blackface does not dictate my paycheck, my taxes, our livelihood, the way we live in our house. I mean, is it wrong? It could be. I don't know. We don't understand. I mean, but at the same time, I'm looking at my life in my house, my community, local politics that make sure that we
Someone
can live,
acting like a moron back in 19
Yeah.
during his college years. That's not something that's revolutionary. It might show that he probably has a bad mindset and a nasty kind of outlook on race relations. Has he transformed as a person? Should he have probably come up there at the press conference and owned it and said, "This was me. This is not who I am now, and I will never do this again. And I'm going to strive to be a better person"? I would argue yes.
I think he just needs better people in this corner.
There you go. So there you have it, folks. The Northam debate, the Northam issue has not resolved itself.
Yeah, it probably
As
won't.
of tonight, pre-State of the Union, there has been no resignation. He's still sitting in the governor's mansion in Richmond, so we will be sure to follow up there. Thanks again, folks, for joining us, and it's time for the SODU. Peace.
Peace.